Let's maybe kick it off with Amazon here. It seems like some of these cost-cutting efforts are really paying off for the company. I mean, what's your take overall?
Yes, I think big tech across the board and Meta as well, but Amazon today is showing that they have so many levers that they can pull to come in very, very strong on the bottom line when the market really needs that. The difference, I would say, between Amazon and Meta is that Meta is up 140% year to date. You could argue that it's priced in, where I think Amazon was really a surprise. I think it really took people off guard. This is a company that overall perhaps has more room in its price action than what Meta, which was priced for perfection. So I think Amazon was a positive surprise all around today.
I'm wondering if they gave us enough information, Beth, on AWS and whether or not, we could be seeing the start of a recovery. Are we at a bottom there for that part of the business, Beth?
That's a very good question. When management was asked, they could not say that they've hit a bottom. What I would say to watch for with AWS is the AI impact. So just to compare, because we have had so many big tech earnings this week, Microsoft was able to show up and say, hey, despite cloud optimization, which is basically reduced cloud spend, we are able to accelerate because there are so many AI workload starts on Azure. That's through the OpenAI API. AWS is a little bit behind the curve on AI right now. They're trying to catch up. They've made this investment into Anthropic. They're coming out with their own GPUs. They're doing a few strategic moves, but they're behind Microsoft. And we saw that today with AWS being flat, where Azure was able to provide that 1% acceleration.
In terms of the Magnificent Seven that you watch out, I mean, where does Amazon rank among that right now, Beth?
I would say that Amazon has moved up in rank, whereas Google and Meta have moved down a little bit. And it's only, again, going back to Meta, you could argue it was a phenomenal report. My answer would be, I think it was entirely priced in, and that weakness around volatility, macro uncertainty moves Meta down in the ranking for me, moves Amazon up. And the reason is that Amazon used the word stability, and that's exactly what you want to see in this market. Again, I think that bottom line was more of a surprise. I mean, I know it was because of how the analysts were reporting going into the call. So that piece there leaves more room for positive price action, in my opinion.
Beth, it could be among the Magnificent Seven, could be beyond that, of course. You cover a lot. In terms of potential upside on share price, let's make it simple and all things considered, what's your favorite and what do you favor least?
Across the Magnificent Seven, I think that over the next 1 to 2 years, NVIDIA probably has the most potential, and it goes back to demand. We are seeing unprecedented demand for their GPUs. And although this is going to create a huge headwind for them to continue to grow on top of these high comps as we wrap around this year, they have the potential to do so because they have a near monopoly. AMD is going to try to answer to this. We don't know if they can. I'm positioned to own both, but NVIDIA just has this unprecedented demand. The only other time we've seen this was the iPhone with Apple. Second, I would say I would throw Netflix in there. I think that they've come up this week. They've shown that they're insulated in a recession or weakened consumer spending. They're raising their prices. Tesla has to slash prices, and they're bleeding on their margins. When you can raise prices right now, you're sending a strong message. I would put Netflix in the Mag 8 if we're going to count Netflix.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you that as a proxy to the health of the U.S. consumer, Beth. What are your takeaways there from anything that's been said from the big companies?
I would say that big tech is communicating that the consumer is weaker than the economic data is showing us. I would go back to that night. It was Tuesday night that Netflix reported versus Tesla. When Netflix is coming in with a large beat, they're able to raise prices to $23 in the United States. Meanwhile, Tesla is communicating, we can't keep up with these interest rates. We're having to slash prices. our margins are under pressure. What that's communicating to me is a very weak consumer. And I like to listen to what these big tech companies are saying. They're global. They have their pulse, their finger on the pulse of the consumer, and the numbers don't lie. And so when I look at Netflix versus Tesla, the only environment I can think of where those two reports would have come in that manner is with a weak consumer.